Hello folks, this is Johnny again. Now first of all, please forgive me for being genuinely lazy and not setting up the light. So if the lighting is not as on par as usual, although my lighting is pretty mediocre and not really professional, I hope you can forgive me. In any case, today, my new bass came! Cause it's all about the bass. So let's unpack her, shall we? So, strings and a ruler for measuring out guitar stuff. I needed that. Now here we go. Let's see what we got here. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Ha. Ha. Would you look at that? It's looking pretty nice. So this is a Marcus Miller V7 and I read some pretty good reviews about it. Now to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of Fender shapes and designs. I mainly bought this for the sound because the tone I'm getting from my Yamaha doesn't really do it for me right now. And I wanted a more bass jazzy, growly and clanky mid-range and top end. And the Yamaha is a bit too smudgy and wet sounding in that mid-range. And the top end is a bit smoother and rolled off and I can't really get the sound I want. I'm guessing it's simply because it's got humbuckers and this right here is single coil. So now we gotta put it through a test run. I gotta figure out what all these knobs do. What I know is there's a 3-band equalizer in here and you can switch between passive and active circuitry, so that's pretty interesting. And then I hope that the 145 string by D'Addario really actually fits through here. Because if it doesn't, then this bass is going right back. I need the 145 to tune down to A. 135 doesn't really cut it. So let's try her out. So here we are again. Actually, it has been a couple of days now ever since the unpacking. I put on new strings, I gave it a complete setup, experimented with it a little bit and even recorded a new song with this guitar. And I have to say, overall, I really like it. Now, first of all, a disclaimer, if you are watching this video and you don't really know me or know about me, I'm just your average home hobbyist, recording, musician, producer kind of guy. And I mainly play the guitar, but for my recordings I also need a decent bass. My old bass doesn't really give me the sound that I'm after right now, so I got me this one. Yeah, now I'm going to give you my thoughts from that kind of perspective. So I am by no means a full-on professional bassist or anything, so you won't get any in-depth review of this thing, just a little tone test and see if it does what I'm after. So let's just play around with it a little bit. Now what astounded me first of all was the volume outputs of all the strings and how even they are. Or rather how loud the lowest A string is. Just check this out. Oh, it's so in your face. With my old bass, the lowest A kind of got lost a little bit. It wasn't as loud as the other strings, and so I had to compress like an idiot to make it work somehow. But this one has a very nice level output distribution. And in general, just the sound is so roaring. pretty much has that mid-range bark and that high-end clankiness that I was looking for the whole time. And I guess that's because, well, that's jazz bass for you. That's what they are known for. The single coil pickups really lend themselves very well to a bass guitar. And now that I look at it, I'm noticing I didn't even turn on the equalizer on here. Usually my tone sounds like this. So yeah, since we are at it, let's talk about the knobs in here. So this first pair up here, the little one on top is volume, the bigger one on the bottom is tone, so I just keep those all the way up. The next one over here is the pickup toggle. I kind of like the middle position, so both pickups are used. And that kind of has that mid-range barkiness from the bridge pickup and that richness and kind of mid-range roar from the middle pickup. I'm not sure if you would call this a neck pickup. It's not really at the neck, it's rather in the middle, but in any case. And then we have the equalizer versus the treble. I like to just boost this all the way up to get a real nice bright clanky sound. And then we have another pair. The top little one is the mid-range boost or cut, and then the bottom big one is the mid-range frequency, so you can sweep that around, and then we have the low end. And I keep mid-range and low end pretty much flat, so I don't really want to boost anything or take anything away. I just want to keep those as they are. I quite like the sound as it is, and then the little switch here turns this equalizer on and off, and there is an active circuitry, of course, with 18 volts, and I'm really liking the sound of that. So again, I think the sound is awesome. I personally really like it. Again, the design is something I'm not really a fan of. I'm not that big on the Fender design. Also, I quite hate these tuners. They look, I don't know, it's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. But that's not why I bought this guitar. For bass guitar, I'm really just focusing on the sound. We also have to discuss one negative point. This thick 145 gauge string is giving me a little bit of trouble here at the bridge. See, when I go string through, then the string is actually so fat that it hits the back part of the string slot and just bends over it. The first time I put this on, it sounded horrible. It was so dull and flubby, and I was wondering what in the world is going on now. And then it actually wasn't laying on the saddle right, although it was tuned. So I had to really push it down and bend it down to make sure it's actually laying on the right edge of the string slot. Okay, but one cool thing about the bridges, it also has holes here in the back, so you can put the strings through the back instead of going string through the body. That would be cool, of course, if I could do that, because then I wouldn't have to worry about the string being too thick for the bending. But the next problem is the string is just too thick to actually fit through the hole. I mean, it just barely fits through, but I couldn't even really get to the end of the string, and if I would have reached the end of the string, if I would have been able to pull it all the way through, you know, the last inch of a string is usually a bit thicker because the wires being rewound back and forth and whatever, it would not fit through this hole at all. So I have a couple of options now. Either I just deal with it as it is, go string through and make sure it's bent the right way, or I would switch to different strings. For example, Kalium strings. The ending part is a little bit thinner, so it wouldn't make any problems. And also the corresponding gauge would be a 142 instead of the 145 by Diodario, and I'm guessing that would fit through the hole a little bit better, so that could work. But the problem there is Kalium strings are in the USA and I'm in Germany, and so the shipping costs are stupid high. I'm not sure if that's really worth it for strings. And the third option I was thinking about is I just drill this hole a little bit bigger, but I'm usually a little bit wary about that. I'm not sure how well the material takes it. I don't know what material exactly this is. I tried to Google it and everywhere it says it's metal. Wow, what kind of metal? Is it some sort of stainless steel? Is it chrome plated, something else? How would it take the drilling? That's what I don't know. If you know, please let me know in the comments below. Before I go ahead drilling this hole bigger, I really need to know if the material can actually take it or not. Ah yeah, and then of course we have to talk about playability. I think it's fine. It has a bit more of a curved fretboard, but I personally don't have any problem with that. It feels pretty good actually. I quite like it. A nice change of pace compared to all the flat radius fretboards I have in my room that are just for fast shredding. So this kind of feels nice. I guess one thing is the neck is a little bit thicker. It's C-shaped, not any kind of thinner shape. So playing something faster, more complicated is a bit more difficult on here, but that's not really what I'm going for. Right now I'm going for something a bit more traditional, a bit more groovy instead of tacky. So this works perfectly fine for me personally. Otherwise, I really like the tone of that thing. And it adds a nice mid-range bark to the mix, as well as a very rich and defined low end. And with that, we come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please subscribe and leave a comment below. I got Patreon now, if you're interested. So yeah, that's a thing, I guess. And see you next time.